In this video, we're going to talk about onboarding. This is a basic HR topic, but many of us haven't been involved. So what's it about? What difference does it really make? These are some of the things we're going to talk about today, starting right now. Hi there, I'm Andrea Adams and the host of HR Shop Talk. On this show, you get expert insight into all sorts of HR topics. I encourage you to subscribe to the show by clicking on the button at the bottom of the screen to continue learning from my smart and experienced guests. Today, I'm talking to Bev Somers. Bev has spent 20 years providing human resource management solutions and now assists clients in various industries performing human resource consulting and helping clients tackle the HR challenges they fear the most. HR 911 to the rescue. Hi, Bev.
Hi.
So first question here. What is onboarding and is it the same as orientation?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it really got me thinking because we used to call it orientation.
Yes.
It seemed to have evolved into onboarding. And I'm not sure, honestly, if from a technical perspective, how different or the same they are. And so I would say I don't get caught up in the terminology. For me, whether you call it onboarding or whether you call it orientation, it's about feelings and actions. It's about making the employee feeling like they belong to the organization as quickly as possible, making sure that they feel safe, speaking up, asking questions, and making sure that they're as productive as possible from the get-go. So making them realize that switching careers or jobs or whatever it may have been was a good choice for them.
So why are you passionate about onboarding?
Back in the day, I don't know when things really switched over, but orientation, it was about, making sure that employees had, all the papers signed and the documents, they've reviewed everything. They've gone through all the training, the health and safety and, whatever may have been involved at the time. It might have been a 1-day process. It could have been a 3-day process, whatever that looked like. But for me, I've taken an interest in onboarding because I see it as so much more than that. I see it as a way to, like I said already, make your employees feel wanted, feel safe. You can really be creative with your onboarding. And maybe that's the piece I like too is, bringing somebody new into the organization and really making them feel, like you've personalized this for them. It's not just a cookie cutter, everybody goes through the same process. We've made it special for you. It's about making sure that those first few months, their experience is awesome.
All right. So you consult for small employers and maybe you've had an opportunity to see the situation both before and after. So before they had onboarding and then after they've implemented onboarding. And what difference have you seen it make?
For a leader of an organization, I know one of the things I hear often that they appreciate the most is that they know everything's been covered. It is training your leaders maybe to think about some things that they wouldn't have thought about. If you just said to a leader, look, you're responsible for Joe's onboarding. He's coming, starting Monday. And that was it. Well, that person, if they don't know what they're doing, then, they may not cover everything that needs to be covered. So, I think leaders really like that it just is all encompassing and it creates consistency.
You talk about the role of leaders, and my experience has often been that we have these noble aspirations of how we're going to onboard an employee, but then people get busy and then so many aspects fall by the wayside. Is that what you've seen and how do you manage that?
Yeah. So that's what happens when you don't have a formalized process. But when you have a formalized process, then the leader of the organization, whether it's the owner, executive director, or whoever that person is, who's kind of the high level gatekeeper of the onboarding process, they may not be involved, but the person that is leading the process has to report back in. And in my case, the process I use, they'd have a checklist or a report that they have to give back and get sign off. So, everything's done. With that too, we get the employees' feedback, or in process I facilitate is we're getting the employees' feedback. So you're holding the leaders accountable. So it's, your leader meet with you, or your onboarding guide meet with you. How often did they set up your coaching meetings? Did they, they take lunch? You're an accountability factor there. So again, having this standard process. It holds everybody accountable.
If you found this interesting, subscribe to see all the episodes and comment. What do you find hard about onboarding? Let us know in the comment section below. And back to you, Bev. So what are the phases of onboarding?
Okay. So in a good onboarding, there is a pre-boarding. There is your onboarding. After onboarding, there is a follow-up process. So, I don't have a fancy name for that, but your pre-boarding, your onboarding, and then your follow-up. And I also mentioned the evaluation. So that would kind of be the fourth stage.
Okay, so let's talk about pre-boarding. What goes into pre-boarding?
So pre-boarding starts at the recruitment phase before you've even selected your candidate of choice.
Okay.
So you are recruiting, and as part of that process, and the reason why this is important is you're starting to set the tone for what the communication is going to be like within your organization and what your commitment is, and if you follow through. So through the recruitment, you're communicating with your candidates, you're following up when you say you're going to follow up. So the candidate is already getting that experience. And then once they're given the offer, same thing. You carry through. You make sure that you communicate often. You're following through on the deadlines. If you say you're going to have an offer to them by end of day today, you do it. You're so setting the tone. So also in the pre-boarding phase is where you start to get the ball rolling. So here's a good time. So let's say you've hired somebody, they're giving their 2 weeks notice and they're going to be coming on. You've got 2 weeks to order business cards, to get nameplates done, to get an office set up. So you have an opportunity to really wow the employee. And that's what the onboarding experience is for me. Like, I think, okay, how do I wow somebody to really make them feel like they made a good decision to come to my company?
So that was pre-boarding. So onboarding, what is encompassed by onboarding?
So onboarding, it starts, I should say pre-boarding too. I forgot to mention that, you're sending notices out to your employees.
Okay. Yeah.
An opportunity to introduce the new employee to them. So you're going to ask the new employee for a picture, a little bio, really making them feel like they belong to the team before they've even joined the team, right? If that's your goal, then that's awesome. So then day one, they arrive to a friendly face. Nothing worse than somebody coming in the front door and like looking, left, right, like where do I go, right? So somebody needs to be there waiting for them. Your day one should be fun. I know work is work, but it should be as fun as possible. So, try not to dump a bunch of papers on the desk. Try to keep it as light as possible. Do your tours, make your introductions. I always encourage people to go out and have lunch with their employee and a supervisor or, somebody. Some people go out to lunch often, but we'd be surprised. Some people don't get treated to that. So it's a simple little thing like that. And at the end of the day, let them leave early. I say, go in, check in on them. And, even if it's 20 minutes, say like, look, it's an exhausting day. I'm sure you're tired. Why don't you go home now? And we'll see you tomorrow. So that's just day one. So then your first week, now you're getting into a little more of the in-depth, your training, the other thing I do is I encourage people to have key people meetings, I call them. So, why not let the new employee, depending on the size of the organization, have 10 minutes with the executive director or the CEO? That's a wow, right? Other key people, maybe your finance people, if they're a frontline employee, I'll use that example, then, let them see the inner workings and ask questions and hear from some of the other people. They may never speak to them ever again, right?
Yeah.
But again, making them feel special. And then there's also just this is the stuff I said don't do on the first day, right? There's tons of paperwork we have to fill out. We need to make sure we get signed up for benefits and payroll, and that has to happen. I also have a schedule that I would recommend that you create. You give it to the employee up front so they know up front what the next week looks like. And that takes anxiety out of the process, right? So they're already able to see like, okay, there's hopefully not going to be any curveballs thrown at you, but this is what we intend your first week to look like. People will really appreciate that.
Now follow-up.
Yeah. So follow-up that's that checking in piece. So we often forget to ask some important questions like, was it everything you expected it to be? Like, did I forget something that you were hoping that I would cover? What's surprised you the most? Are you still excited to come to work every day? How can we make it more exciting for you to come to work? So after, I'd say about the 4-week mark, somebody should be settled in a little bit. And then you're starting to get into, okay, now let's talk about what some of the expectations are. What do I expect of you? What do you expect of me? What does coaching and feedback process look like? Reviewing the job profile, and if there's goals, you may not give somebody goals right away, but you can give them an idea of what goals may look like. Talk about what the probationary period looks like, and I always encourage people to give the probationary form up front as well. It's not a secret.
Yeah.
Like, look, at the end of your probationary period, this is what we're looking for. So, what we're looking for, and this is what we're going to, assess you on. So again, being honest, transparent, and giving as much information and following up with them, asking, getting their feedback. I encourage companies to do a 1-week and a 4-week evaluation. It's a quick, it can be 5 to 10 questions. What went well, what didn't go well, how can we do better? Did everybody say and do what we said they were going to do, right? That accountability piece. Definitely evaluation, and there's always room to improve.
Okay, so in some other stuff you shared with me beforehand, you recommend identifying a buddy. Can you talk more about what the buddy does?
So the buddy is, the buddy goes through some of the same stuff that whoever's leading this process goes through. It can be a buddy to the leader who's leading this process as well, because, if that person can't be there for everything. But just to having that person kind of in the background who's, maybe more of a peer. And so the buddy can be that person who shares those kind of the culture. I use some of the examples too of like, look, we have somebody that works here that's like super sensitive to fish. So try not to too much.
Yeah.
And so
find out the hard way.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And so there's a fine line for the buddy between, you don't want them to be gossiping, right? So you don't want them to be like, I hope you never get Sue as a supervisor because she's super cranky. Like it's about trying to be positive too, right? So, but giving them enough to make them belong as quickly as possible, and feel like they're a part of the team.
Right. So, what is one aspect of onboarding that isn't done often enough, because it seems like too much work, but in fact, it's really important?
Yeah, it's another really great question. I think formalizing the process.
Oh, yeah.
We think, oh, we've got somebody new starting, and we don't do the proper steps and to go through and realize how important each little step can be to creating an amazing experience for the employee. So
final question here. If someone's looking to create or improve their onboarding process, what advice do you have for them?
So I think I already mentioned that, you can Google it. So you can go and you can take little bits of everything and build your own. That takes a lot of time. Mm-hmm. It can be done, but you can absolutely find people within your network who've done this and who will share with you, hopefully. There are organizations who sell these products. You can go online and for, whatever the price, you can buy these products. So they're out there, and then you can obviously tap into a professional like myself.
Thanks, Bev. I've done many orientations, but I learned something here. And that brings us to the end of this episode. I did an episode on wellness in a remote work environment, and the link is right here. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.